Hey everyone, this is Kit Cabello with Hard Lens Media. Welcome to the Friday show. That's it. We're at the end of the week, and this is our first week back at the studio. Thank you so much to all our viewers and subscribers. We cannot thank you guys enough. And again, huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. It's real easy to become a Patreon supporter. That link is in the description box below. We are only asking for a $1 donation so we can get to our $2,000 per month goal so we can maintain the studio, update the gear and equipment, and work on future projects. Today, I'm joined here with Daniel Upker, and good old John Hodges, who's joining us via Zoom link. John, so glad to have you here on the show. And also, everyone, please stay tuned at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will be having a very important guest on our show, and we'll be covering the matte asphalt plant. So please, everyone who's very concerned about environmental racism and making sure that we end pollution in our communities, please stay tuned. Lauren Gonzalez from the Southwest Environmental Alliance will be joining us. It'll be a very important story that we've been covering here at Hard Lens Media. It will be a follow-up to what I did with the matte asphalt plant video. Check that video out sometime after the show. But with that being said, we got to get things started because we got an awesome show. So don't panic. Don't worry, everyone. Stop panicking. Stop panicking. Most cataclysmic jobs report of our lifetime shows United States unemployment soaring to level not seen since the Great Depression. I know, horrible. Just a day after announcing that about 33.5 million Americans have filed jobless claims since mid-March as the coronavirus pandemic has caused lockdowns worldwide, the United States Department of Labor on Friday revealed that the nation's official unemployment rate has hit 14.7% last month, its highest level since the Great Depression. Wow. You know, my grandpa, who's 93, talks about the Great Depression sometimes, and he's been recently talking about it more. And he keeps on saying this to me. I saw this before, Kit. I can't believe I'm seeing it again. But, hey, it is what it is, unfortunately. But this is what happens when you have a neoliberal corporate system that basically bought our democracy. Before April's job report hit, the Economic Policy Institute warned on Twitter that Friday would be the most cataclysmic #Jobs Day of our lives and shared the chart showing the recent unemployment claims contrast to the past 80 years before detailing current conditions in a 22-tweet thread. While the 14.7% figure for April is significantly higher than February, 3.5%, and March, 4.4%, it fails to capture the full scope of how U.S. workers have been impacted by temporary business closures and hours reductions that have resulted from the ongoing global health crisis. If all coronavirus-related job losses had shown up as unemployed, the unemployment rate would now be at 19%, not 14.7%. Further, about 7.5 million workers are likely being misclassified as employed, not at work instead of temporary unemployed. If they were classified correctly and all coronavirus-related job losses had shown up as unemployed, the unemployment rate would possibly be at 23.6%. So again, this kind of goes back to something we talked about before about the real risk of COVID-19, this economic depression that was supported with neoliberalism that we have, and so many other issues. We said that the numbers are going to reach up higher of people being unemployed, people out of work. And right now it's at 33.6 million Americans. That's a lot of Americans. But there's people that right now that aren't on that list. How many people are right now falling through the cracks that aren't really classified properly? So do I dare humor the notion that maybe, maybe 50 million Americans are out of work? 60 million? Should I shoot higher and say 100 million? Well, that's not fair to you guys, our viewers and subscribers, but it's quite clear that our system, in regards to how we're going to keep in contact with how many workers are right now out of work, is clearly antiquated, and it's not doing its job. So we don't really know the full damage. I mean, 33.6 million Americans, that's high. That's a very high number. So what do we do here? Congress, where are you at? President Trump, where are you at? Anyone within power in the political system, where are you at right now? The American people need relief. But oh, wait, that relief package that you did, that emergency package to help us out during the height of this pandemic, you bailed out the corporations. You didn't bail out the people. And the people are still struggling. And now there's this whole big rush to reopen things. Look, guys, I with you, and I agree. I want things to go back to the way they were, maybe some way. But you know what? That normalcy that we were used to, it's how we got into this mess in the first place. John, Daniel, take it away.
So another problem with this, and I was actually just talking to a small business owner earlier today. It's really hard to reopen everything. Let's just say hypothetically that coronavirus is gone. No more. Now it doesn't exist. We have just magicked it out of the earth. The problem is a lot of people are now in deep debt, and they don't have money to spend on anything. So if right now overnight every business owner could come out of their homes that hopefully they still have, come out of their apartments, hopefully they won't be kicked out of, and open up their small business, are they going to be able to bring back all their employees? Well, if they do, let's just say they do. Let's say every single small business owner is like, I feel really good about this. I'm going to bring back every single person that worked with me before everything collapsed. Well, let's wait for customers.
Where they at?
What customers? Who has money left? I mean, everyone is behind on everything, and they didn't have jobs, and we got furloughed because we don't have a safety net in this country that's worth anything in the 21st century. So what's the outcome that we're going to have? Even if every small business owner does everything right that they're supposed to do and bring everyone back and go through the CARES program that hopefully they got money for, where are the customers? The customers that don't have any money. You can't have customers if customers don't have any money because they aren't hired back either. This is the problem that Nancy Pelosi doesn't seem to worry about, Mitch McConnell doesn't seem to worry about, Donald Trump doesn't seem to worry about. Consumers need money. So even if we took care of the pandemic that we're dealing with, I'm not sure it matters at this point because we've already shut everything down, and we are still expecting half of the businesses in America to go bankrupt. But don't worry, we already paid out the big corporations.
John, what's the final note?
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to get a little angry now. We have this Defense Production Act, right? And we've used it to try and save meat packing plants, I guess. You know, we got to keep the meat rolling. We got to get that beef and stuff like that. But this is the perfect time for a progressive leader, any of the progressive leaders, one of the progressive leaders, just one freaking progressive leader to say this. We need a federal jobs guarantee because these jobs are not coming back. The freaking corporations are going to figure out that all these non-essential employees that could do their job from home on a Zoom phone call and get the exact same work done, they're not going back. They're not going back to work in the same capacity. So during that time, there's going to be even new ways to cut costs. Like I guarantee you businesses are figuring out right now new ways to streamline their production without bringing people back. So what are we going to do to refill those jobs? A federal jobs guarantee would probably be good. That'd probably be something. We could probably help start, helping retrain citizens and reestablish these supply lines and get this country back off its feet. But nobody, not Bernie Sanders, none of the progressives are saying anything about it. Elizabeth Warren, she doesn't even know how to spell FJG. Like it's freaking it's blowing my mind. And this is part of how this is what we did in World War II. We did rent freezes in World War II when everybody was just stopping what they were doing and building bombs and building bullets, beans and ammo. This is what we did. We did a rent freeze so people could stay in their homes. And then coming out of it, and out of the Great Depression, what did we do? A federal jobs, the equivalent. I'm blanking on the name of what it was called then, but it was a federal jobs guarantee. It was, we're going to put everybody to work. We're going to build a dam. We're going to build highways and interstates. And we used to be known for these things. Like, why aren't we doing that right now? Where are the progressive leaders that are talking about this right now?
So true.
Oh, yeah. Guess who is?
Yeah.
The Green Party.
Yeah. So, and again, this is why we have to really right now look at what to do to solve the solution. Obviously, Washington, D.C., our elected leaders do have the power. They choose not to use the power to help out the people. So, again, I'm just going to keep saying this on this network, and Jimmy Dore is saying the same thing, and everyone else, Convo Couch, let's all speak it out in unison. We call for a national strike. We can't go back to the normal we're used to because that normal is gone. I'm sorry. It's dead. It's gone. It's not coming back, period. And the thing is, 33.6 million. It's a high number. but I'm afraid to report that perhaps that number is much higher. And it's not fair to speculate how high the number can be, but the number's going to be high, and it's going to continue to rise up. And everyone's in a rush to open things up, but that's not the case. But we do have to wrap things up and move on now to our next story, because Daniel, why don't you lead this story? Because I was reading over this article.
It's weird, isn't it?
It is. What's going on?
Okay, so a number of unexpected people have a confluence of interests that are causing them all to go after Amazon. And it's people that you might not expect to be on the same side, and one who I'm not sure really matters. So 9 senators, including Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Kamala Harris, asked Jeff Bezos to explain why he fired whistleblowers. Now, I'm going to get into why I think this is very interesting after I go through the article, but there are some very interesting alignments of power here. Well, let's talk about this. In a letter to Amazon's billionaire CEO, Jeff Bezos, dated May 6th, 9 Democratic senators, including former presidential candidates Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Kamala Harris, are asking Bezos and the e-commerce industry to explain the policies for discipline in firing workers who raised health and safety concerns. So people we've talked in the past that have been fired or threatened for trying to organize labor. It's like we're back in Standard Oil, only just a different kind of oil. The letter focuses on 4 former Amazon workers who were recently fired shortly after they publicly raised concerns about warehouse conditions during the pandemic in March and April. Now, it's a good thing they weren't talking about anything the military was doing, because they might have a very different take on the rest of this story, but let's continue. The senators are asking for more information to, quote, in order to understand how the termination of employees that raised concerns about health and safety did not constitute retaliation for whistleblowing. The 4 fired Amazon employees named in the letter are warehouse workers Chris Smalls, Bashir Muhammad, tech employees Marin Costa, and Emily Cunningham. Costa said she has not heard personally from the senators, but she is, quote, heartened to see this issue raised on a national level. She worked at Amazon for 15 years as a user experience designer before she was fired in April, shortly after organizing an event between warehouse and tech employees. Quote, I wish we could count on companies like Amazon to treat workers with respect. Well, we all know they don't have the money. I mean, it's just a foretold thing. To work together and solve ethical, urgent issues without needing to be told. The company has said in statements that it fired these employees for, quote, violating internal communication policies as well as, quote, bad actions, particularly those that endanger the health, well-being, or safety of their colleagues. I think what they really mean the health, welfare, and safety of their profitability, perhaps. So I thought this was interesting because of the people that are actually involved. Usually you don't see, if you see something like this, it'll be like Bernie Sanders or someone else that's like championing it. Then Elizabeth Warren's on the sidelines pretending to be involved. So if it goes anywhere, she can take credit for it. And then you have a number of other people on the side that are like, you know, maybe if this goes well and looks like political winds are going my way, I'll join in. The fact that we have 9 people right away is making me think, okay, this is a little more serious. There are different backgrounds that says something. I think that Nancy Pelosi obviously is not worried about any of this because she's, of course, getting paid for her efforts. But I think that there are a number of these people that are still slightly tied to the whims of their constituent, or at least they want to look good. And one way they can do that is, right now, Amazon's not really popular. A lot of people are upset at it. A lot of things, it's their way, even if it's for publicity, to step forward and go, we're standing in this direction. And the amount of people, it's 9 senators, that's enough to maybe do something at some point in time. Maybe this leads to something minor. Maybe Amazon gets slapped on the wrist in a way that they normally wouldn't. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm just going to keep my answer short and simple. To the Amazon workers, keep forcing the issue. Walk out of the warehouses. Strike. Shut it all down. It's not worth it. It's not worth the risk. Make Jeff Bezos uncomfortable. All of you nationwide, and I don't think all of them are going to be seeing this video, but if they do, walk out. Amazon doesn't care about you. Walk out. Truck drivers, stop driving. He doesn't give a crap about you. Walk out. Strike. That's what you can do. John, what's the final note?
Yeah. It's easy, and I think this is just another call for unions. Unions are a stepping stone to where what we've been talking about a lot, and what my focus has been about third parties. Um, yeah, let's start, hoping that people do start striking, and hopefully that the strikes don't have to last long and it doesn't affect them any more than it has to. But the pressure has to be put on Amazon, not just a VP quitting, not just somebody saying, what we've done is reprehensible or something like that, but actual action.
So I'm going to ask you guys this
Yeah.
within this business. I think this is the part that I'm the most interested in is the consortium of senators that have gotten involved that we know are like Kamala's a cop that puts people in jail for truancy and laughs about it. Bernie Sanders has planted the most seeds of the progressive movement in 100 years, and although we may have some issues with how the campaign ended, he's very important in history. And then Elizabeth Warren trying to walk around without a spine. These guys have all come together. Do you think there's that anything will happen, that this is enough people, or if this is just...
Okay, it's an interesting coalition, and I know all of our viewers have different points of view on this. Here's the thing. Here's how you force the issue, especially making those senators react and become harsher on Jeff Bezos. It's in the hands of the workers at Amazon. And look, I don't want them to... Look, everyone deserves to have put food on their plate, to make sure that the bills are paid. But the Amazon workers, you guys have got to strike. You've got to shut down the warehouses. All of you collectively, nationwide, no matter what state you're in, whatever your political beliefs are, however old you are, young you are, what color skin, or who you worship, shut it all down. Shut it all down. Don't even show up. Amazon doesn't care about you. Jeff Bezos doesn't care about you. They don't care about you. Strike. And in that way, you could force the issue. Imagine all the workers in Amazon shutting down a $1 trillion industry. It'll be something we've never seen before. Be brave and be bold. Make it happen. That's what we got to do. John.
Nah, I don't really have a follow-up. It's pretty plain, cut and simple.
Yeah.
The people are going to have to start acting for themselves, and the only way that's going to get better is for us to hold their feet to the fire.
Okay. Yeah. That's what we got to do. But now we do have to move on now. Now, again, Friday, it's kind of going to be a thing here we're going to do here at Heartlands Media. We're going to be talking about third parties. And I want to hand this over to our good friend, John. John, you're leading the way on this in regards towards us covering more on third parties. So what do you got?
Yeah. I honestly just wanted to have a little recap on the interview. I wanted to get, Kit and Daniel's opinions on the interview. I thought it went pretty well. I got to hand it to Kit. He really, really, really handled the interview well on his end. It wasn't offensive. He wasn't on the attack, but he didn't back away from asking the tough questions. And I was surprised. I was actually kind of like, oh, okay, when he went right out the gate and asked about Russiagate. But that was highlighted in the comments from Howie, and I think Howie honestly responded to it well. I agree with his stance. When we're talking about things like RT and things like that, and the idea that Russia in no way, shape, or form ever would want to mess with us it's let's have some common sense here. We're all competing in a capitalist world. I mean, they might have a better social system than we do, but at the end of the day, we're all trying to sell our goods. And so the idea, this is this concept that Russia wants nothing to do with us, it's kind of silly to me. And also like this idea that Russia would fund RT completely. Like they don't get any YouTube revenue at all. They're completely funded by Russia. And to think that that Russia just really wants to bring us a better news, that's a bit of a stretch for me. I like RT. I like Reade. I like listening to RT. I think Lee Camp is hilarious.
Good friend of the show.
And Naomi, what's her name? The other
Naomi Counts or no?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. She's hilarious. Like their stuff is good stuff. It's fun to watch. I'm not disparaging them in any way, but there's always, like, whether CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, whatever. Everybody has their narrative. Everybody has their bias. Everybody has their goal. Their, which way they want to, kind of present the information, and it's always going to show up. And I think that was more of what he was speaking to. That's at least the impression I got from his answer.
Right.
Other than that, I thought it was a pretty good interview. What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, since interviewing Howie Hawkins, because again, I think just for context, last week Howie Hawkins, and he confirmed this on the interview. He commented on our YouTube video that we clipped, and he talked about Julian Assange and Russiagate. He wanted to bring that up, and of course, I wanted to have him talk and address those issues as well as other policy issues, and really hear him out. I think in regards to this, he's the second, well, technically third presidential candidate we have had on Hard Lens Media. And for the most part, I think everyone's going to have to judge all the candidates, whether they're Democrat or Republican or Green or Libertarian, accordingly, and make their own choice of who they're going to support. The Greens still have an ongoing primary. There's still no clear front runner for the Green Party nomination yet. But I would say that to the best of my ability as somebody conducting the interview, as well as Howie Hawkins on as a guest, I think we pretty much covered as much as we could do in a 40-minute time frame. I do want to say this because I noticed in the chat and a few other videos that we've done in third parties, people are asking us to get Dario Hunter on board, and I want to make it very clear that myself and John have emailed Dario Hunter's campaign, and we have not gotten a response yet. And just to make sure that everyone else is aware of this, next week on Monday, we will be having Howie Hawkins' VP running mate joining us on the show on Monday. And then on Tuesday, Chad Wilson, who's a Green Party nominee candidate as well, will be on our show on Tuesday. So to our viewers, maybe let's all tweet out at Dario Hunter and tell him to respond to either myself or John's emails, because we would like to have him on the show. We've had Howie Hawkins on. We had Vermin Supreme on. We do invite the other Libertarian candidates to be on our show as well. I know Lainey Peterson did a fantastic job interviewing with one Libertarian candidates on the Convo Couch. So, I mean, I think for the most part, I hope it all went well. Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that we talked before we did that interview. We had some very specific things we wanted to do. So first of all, we wanted to address the controversy, which sort of led up to the interview, and I think Kit did a really good job. We have Howie answering very concrete yes or no. Kit did a really good job of reframing. Hey, is this? You said this, and this. Is this true? So if you see that interview, if you've not seen it yet, I think Kit got him very, very clearly on his positions on the things that were described. So if he decides he wants to change them anywhere near in the future, well, you're going to have a very, very easy video to say, no, you literally said the exact opposite. But if he's consistent, then you have a video where he's being consistent. So I thought that was really good. It was good to have him on. It was very nice for him to speak with us. And I think it went well. We got him on a number of issues. I think Kit's right. I mean, we have 40 minutes. You got to use it as you do. And I'm very interested to see what the other candidates are saying. It's good to see what Howie's saying. Again, we're going to be talking to a number of other people on his ticket. I want to hear from more people. I would love to, after we interview everyone on the Greens, everyone in the Libertarian Party, I'd love to have some sort of debate or some town hall of some sort with all of them and you guys working together to do something that, mainstream media is never going to do, but we would be happy to do it. In fact, we've done it before. Like in the last cycle, we held the Libertarian governors debate, and that was quite something.
Yeah, we had that, and that was an incredible thing to do. And just for context too, because I had to pull this up on my email, May 4th is when I emailed Dario Hunter's campaign. So we would like to have him on our show and hear his perspective, because again, the Greens still have a nominating process still going on. I know the Libertarians did the same thing too. So
tweet out to him, help us out.
Help us out so we can get on the show. But hold on, I want to hand this back over to John because he's been working real hard on all this.
Yeah, so in the show notes, there is a debate in case anybody wants to know, like, where each of the candidates, Dario Hunter and Howie Hawkins, stand. If you want a more concise view and representation of what they are and how they handle themselves, after our show, click the link. It's a really good debate between the two of them. It wasn't adversarial. I really enjoyed watching it. My overall feeling of the whole thing was Howie's focus is more of one of progressing the party, and I think Dario's focus is a little bit more social. There's a lot of elements in there that are social. Um, yeah, there were some odd moments. There's a little bit of that, old man curmudgeon uh, appearance from Howie, and there's some things that come off a little bit brash and can leave a bad taste in some people's mouths. But honestly, he's the guy that's been working hard at this for a long time. Um, One of the things that I thought was interesting was Dario talking about his green path forward, and I'd like to, hear him explain that a lot more. Like, go into more detail. I want to hear as much as I can about his green path forward, because his green path forward, from what I understand, focuses on a more international approach as well. Like, he has a more international approach to his Green New Deal strategy. One of the things that caused an alarm, and I'm going to give him the warning right now, if he decides to come on the show, is one of the things he's going to be asked about is he did say that he would only accept money from Green Party affiliates, from the Green Party. Like, he won't accept money from unions. He won't accept money from outside sources. And I understand that's how you keep that. He thinks maybe, or I'm assuming that he thinks that's how you keep the purity, and from interference. But this is like one of the best chances we're ever going to have to see a third party rise, and you're going to need coalitions. And I think that's a misstep. That's my personal opinion. That's my understanding. That's my take. That's what I gathered from him talking. And I would like to hear him talk about it on our show. I would like to hear from Dario's mouth exactly where he stands, what he stands. I want him to explain it. So I hope he comes on.
I think another important point to bring up, and that is, 4 years ago, I was more idealist. It's like, hey, if everyone votes for a third party, we can change the system. Well, on paper, that sounds good. The thing is, look, I'm going to vote third party, but one of my questions I want to ask to the Greens and Libertarians, or all the candidates, just a heads up, what are you going to do to build and maintain power? Because you have to build large coalitions. You just can't be party purists. I mean, Greens and Libertarians, you don't have that luxury, and we have to get money out of politics, and organizations and third parties do have a sad history of being co-opted or their ideas being taken. Case in point, the Green New Deal, created by the Green Party, but the Democrats are taking it. The Republicans in 2010, the Tea Party revolution that everyone was talking about, though those Tea Party people were calling themselves also libertarians, but also running under the Republican Party, and I'm pretty sure
paid by Republicans.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I'm pretty sure, like, to the libertarians I have spoken to, they have all basically the same thing. Yeah, all those Tea Party libertarian Republicans, yeah, they're not libertarians. So, I mean, there we go. But see, that's the real risk. And third parties themselves, let's say the Greens and Libertarians do actually amass enough power to go forward, there is a clear risk that both of them can be bought by lobby interests. And instead of a two-party system, we have a four-party system that's still owned by corporations, which is why we have to get money out of politics. So I think, as an important note, to John's point, Dario Hunter, please come onto our show. We'd like to hear your side of the story, your perspective, and actually have our viewers and subscribers hear what you're going to do to really build power.
Yeah,
because we need I believe in a parliamentary system. It's what are you going to do to help push that narrative, Daniel? What's the final?
Yeah, and just again, since I'm reading the comments, some people have some ideas on this. If you can either get a hold of them directly, you can have them go to our website and reach out to us. You can have them email Kit.
Yeah.
Again, if they know that he's sent an email to their inbox, hopefully they get back to them. We just want to make sure we cover everyone. We want to make sure we give everyone a voice. We want to make sure we help third parties however we can just get their message out, because we know that they're not going to be on NBC. They're not going to be on Fox. So we're going to do our part to help give them a voice, but also ask tough questions. But that's what we're here to do.
We're not going to be friendly. We're not going to be nice. Look, to the Greens and Libertarians.
We'll be nice.
We'll be friendly.
We're not
gonna.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We're not going to be adversarial at all. Like,
Yeah,
that's
right.
not.
right. Well,
Hey,
I
I'm
mean,
gonna throw a brick at you. There you
well,
go.
yeah, all right. I'm not going to throw a cinder block, but I mean, hey, we're going to give you a chance, and we're going to give you a chance to really speak your policies. So, like with any guest that comes onto a show, who you are, tell us who you are and what do you do, and just what are you going to really do to bring in much needed change. So I know we've reached out to a few people in the Greens and the Libertarians. We're going to work hard to get them on our show, and hopefully we get to introduce you guys to their perspectives. And when the election comes, it'll be up to your choice how you're going to vote, but we want to give a voice to the voiceless.
Yeah.
And I think, John, you've been doing a fantastic job bringing more third parties to our studio and to making it more aware. So keep up the good work, buddy.
One more thing. Steve Cox, when are you going to email us back?
Yes, Steve Cox. Yes, myself and John.
I really want to see him on the show.
We have emailed you. Please, you're more than welcome to be on our show. Respond back to my emails.
I think he's hilarious. So I want to see. I want to actually hear what he's about.
And again, Steve Cox, our audience, I'm going to give a shout out to you guys. You guys can also move mountains too.
Yeah.
Help make this happen. If we get a lot of people tweeting at someone, better chance we can talk to them, which gives you guys better footage.
Right. And then also, we've got a $5 super chat before we move on to our next story. Life of Brian. Life of Brian.
You need. I got it, but you need to work on it at the same time.
Yeah, I know. I got to work on her voice. I do have it down just a little bit. Greens and Libertarians, as well as left and right populists, to be politically relevant will require truce on social issues, ideas. Well, I actually saw something close to that, and that's here in the state of Illinois, where basically the Illinois Libertarian Party and the Illinois Green Party basically worked together to win a major lawsuit so that they could be on the ballot and not worry about the stringent draconian laws that basically halt them from getting on the ballot. So they actually won a major victory. So it can be done. It's just
But I think to directly answer the question,
Yeah.
I'll speak for myself because I know it's a question that's different for everyone. But I generally think that economic issues affect social issues more than social issues affect social issues.
Yeah, that's true. All right. We do now have to move on to our next story, and this one's going to be difficult to talk about, but I think it's important to note because, again, this story's still ongoing, and we're going to be talking about Tara Reade. She was on Megyn Kelly's show for an on-camera interview, and this happened on Thursday. Megyn Kelly was basically interviewing Tara Reade, who's the former staffer for then Senator Joe Biden, who's now former vice president. He's now a Democratic nominee, for a first-time face-to-face interview with her. And during that interview, she really went into detail about what her experience was working with Joe Biden, the unfortunate and horrible assault that she had to go through by Joe Biden. And again, we here at Hardlens Media, we do call for due process. We believe that everyone should face due process and be held accountable, and evidence should be gathered, and let us know what really happened, whether it's a lie or the truth or something. We got to know what happened. We need to be consistent and hold people accountable. But I found something interesting in that interview that really struck with me, and that is Megyn Kelly did ask her, would you be willing to sit down for a polygraph test? And Tara Reade responded with this one thing that's really earned my respect from her and my respect to her, and that is, I am not a criminal. I didn't do anything wrong. I will take a polygraph if Joe Biden takes a polygraph test. And again, too, it's now also been recently reported that there's court documents showing that Tara Reade also, and again, court documents, Tara Reade talked about this assault with her husband and was one of the unfortunate causes for their divorce. And again, it's to all those who are right now saying that they don't believe Tara Reade, especially the Vote Blue, no matter who crowd or the diehard Biden supporters. I mean, there's more people right now that are corroborating with Tara Reade's point of view, and Biden and his campaign are right now still hesitant to really even fully address it. Now, of course, Biden on MSNBC did do an interview, if you want to call it that, but even he was struggling there. I don't even think he even remembers what he even did as a senator, but that's no excuse because we need to find out what's going on. If Joe Biden's this great candidate that's going to somehow beat Trump, there's a lot of things that's going to derail the Biden campaign, and let's be very clear about this. Trump's going to capitalize on this. Trump's going to take advantage of this. And it's not Tara Reade's fault. It's Joe Biden's fault for him putting out this false narrative, this false image of this guy of a good soul who wants to put the soul back in America and make us all
It's not the only thing wants to put back in America.
I know. So the thing is, like, I urge all of our viewers and subscribers to check out the full interview that she did with Megyn Kelly. And I know everyone has their own opinions about Megyn Kelly, but Tara Reade really held herself and really held her ground well. And, there's a lot of people that are threatening her and, really saying a lot of horrible things about her on social media. But we need to hear her story because something happened. Something happened to Tara Reade, and Joe Biden did something. And we need to know what exactly happened. Everyone should face due process. We are supporters of due process here at Hard Lens Media, but we just can't turn a blind eye to this. There's right now too much evidence right now showing that something happened, and we need to hear Tara Reade's story.
Yeah, so this is another interesting thing. So one thing that was very interesting about that interview with Megyn Kelly, it was widely reported by the mainstream press that this is the first interview that she's given publicly, which just is fake. That's fake news. I mean, that's legitimately not true. She was on Rolling Stones. She was, I believe, on Rising as well. I believe may have been somewhere else, but she's been at least been on 2 different interviews before Megyn Kelly, and I feel like framing it like that's her first interview is like saying, oh, the first person she went to were those dastardly Republicans, and that's the first person she gave. Where was that Megyn Kelly person? Like, no, it was like a bunch of people on the left. But that wasn't reported because I guess they're not as known as Megyn Kelly for whatever reason. I think the other thing about this, and I've been seeing people on Facebook still, it's like the same exact. Again, I'm still at the same thing that I've always been on with this. I despise the hypocrisy of the way this is treated. The same people that I remember very distinctly and very clearly that went after Brett Kavanaugh, went after Donald Trump for their sexual allegations, which, let's be real, have less corroborating evidence, especially Blasey Ford's testimony. Again, we're not saying it's one way or the other. I'm just saying that if you're going to put up the circumstantial evidence that exists, Ford doesn't have anywhere near as much as Tara Reade does. There's nowhere, even her, Ford's own friends contradicted her own testimony. Tara has, more and more corroborating evidence as time goes on. Yet I keep seeing the blue no matter who people saying, oh, she's a Russian agent, or she's just a Republican, which is very odd to say, or she's been inconsistent with her testimony. But again, I remember a lot of those people, when it was Ford, that said we need to believe them, we need to believe all women, we need to believe every single woman. And it's such a shame that this movement that women are participating in, trying to grow out their agency and the amount of that being believed when things happen to them, has immediately turned into, politics is more important. We had that tweet that Kit was talking about, I think it was yesterday, where someone's like, hey, Biden can sexually assault me on Fifth Avenue. I would still vote for him. The reality is, people have made a game about this. It is a team sport that we are dealing with. The women don't matter to most of America, it turns out. It really turns out most Americans don't actually care about sexual assault. They don't care about women's rights. They just like saying it because their team was benefiting from saying that at the time that they were saying it. Now that the tables have turned, all of a sudden they're not interested in it, which means they don't really have an ideology that wants to help women. They are inconsistent. They are fair weather fans when it comes to women's rights.
Yeah.
And you can look back. You can look at Hard Lens. You can look at us a year ago. You can look at us when all this was happening. Our position is consistent because we care more about long-term, get it right, have a point of view and a way to look at this that's consistent that you're going to use for everyone, or just admit. And look at it. I'll take this. I'll give these guys an olive branch they don't deserve. If you just want to come out and say, look, I only said that because I didn't like Kavanaugh. I only said that because I didn't like Trump. And I like Biden, so I don't believe it here. I'm fine with that. I will give you that olive branch. But admit it. Don't hide behind women.
All right. John, what's the final note?
There was one really standout moment in that interview that isn't getting enough attention. And I really am kicking myself right now for not having us put it in the show. There's a point where Megyn asked her if she would agree to a lie detector test. and Tara Reade crushed it.
Yeah,
She's a
I
freaking
mentioned that
legend.
earlier, yeah.
She's a freaking legend. Okay, what she said was, "Yeah, I'll take a lie detector test if Joe takes a lie detector test, but I'm not a criminal. I'm not the guilty one. Why would I take a lie detector test?" I thought that was perfect. That just deadened that whole thing of attack the accuser. Just deadened it. And it took giant balls or it
Horrible
took,
choice of words, John.
yeah, just but I'm saying it with the deepest admiration in that moment because I was like, yes, that's awesome. Thank you. I'm like why has that never happened before? Like why has that never happened before? Like yeah, I'll do it if he does it, but I'm the accuser. I'm not the one who did the act. I
Right.
have no like why would I defend myself? Like why are you accusing me of lying all of a sudden? Why aren't we investigating him?
Right.
So I want to add this. I want to ask our audience this question right here. If Tara Reade was accusing Trump and had the exact same evidence, it was just flipped from all the stuff that corroborated for Biden, it flipped to corroborating with Trump. Do you think the people that are saying right now that she's not a reliable witness, that she's Russiagate, do you think that they would all of a start saying, hey, Tara, we stand for all women, we stand behind you, we support you? If you think that the blue no matter who people would be supporting her if she was accusing Trump, hit 1. If you think they would remain consistent nonetheless, hit 2.
Yeah, let's find out. Again, Tara Reade, she has every right to really speak out. She has no reason to apologize. And I urge all our viewers and subscribers to really check out that full interview that she did with Megyn Kelly. It's something worthwhile to sit down and watch. And it's a little difficult to sit through some parts of it, but I mean, it's important that we hear her perspective. Something happened, and Joe Biden must face due process. But we have to move on now to John. John, you got a story for the people. What's going on, man?
Okay, so this is from the Yahoo Sports. It just kind of popped up in in the sports pages, but it's a really interesting thing. Title IX is no longer requires mandatory reporting in colleges. Under the current Title IX guidelines, coaches, athletic directors, and other institutional team personnel are mandatory reporters. The same goes for faculty, athletic directors, residential staff, etc. They are required to report any instance of sexual misconduct or sexual discrimination to the Title IX office or appropriate school officials. There does not need to be a formal complaint to do so. All right. Now, what's happening is the U.S. Department of Education, led by Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, announced new Title IX federal regulations that change requirements on who must report sexual assault allegations and how institutions respond to those complaints. The adjustments are outlined in a 2,033-page document. It's a lot of pages. And set to go into effect August 14th. No longer require coaches and other employees at colleges, universities to report allegations to the Title IX office. They also give schools a choice in what standard of proof they'd like to follow, bolster protections for the accused, and require live hearings and cross-examinations. Yeah, we're slowly slipping into this divine comedy more and more every day. We're walking backwards. We're sliding so far back. And if you're not actually familiar with the Title IX, I'm going to do this real quick. I want to read this to you so you can understand what exactly Title IX is about. 9 things you should know about Title IX. Title IX is a civil right that prohibits sex discrimination in education. So if you're sexually abused or sexually assaulted, that in itself, it's discrimination. Like you're not going to want, like, say you're playing on a team and Jerry Sandusky is there. You're not going to want to participate. And that in itself is, exclusionary to your participation in college athletics and things like that. Title IX applies to all students regardless of gender identity. Schools may not retaliate against someone filing a complaint and must keep complaints safe from other retaliatory harassment. Schools should ensure that no student has to share campus spaces, such dorms, classes, and workplaces with their abuser. Schools can issue no contact directives to prevent accuse students from approaching, interacting with you. Schools must be proactive in ensuring that your campus is free from sex discrimination. Schools cannot discourage you from continuing your education. All schools receiving federal funding include public K through 12 schools, and majority of colleges are subject to Title IX. All right, there's that, right? And it's horrible because this is part of the DeVos program. This is DeVos getting money back into the schools and stuff like that, because almost every college and school receive Title IX funding. They're all subsidized. Michigan State, when dealing with Larry Nassar, Michigan State got fined $4.5 million over abuse claims, and that's where that's the kind of money we're talking about. That's where the root of the problem is. All right, there is some good news though, because these changes won't necessarily stop coaches and other leaders from reporting the allegations. Coaches might have obligations to report through NCAA regulations and the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, which applies to individuals competing in Olympic and Paralympic sports. So there are still some safety nets in place, but I wonder how long those will last. I hope the Olympics, and other organizations still hold their feet to the fires. But as far as federal funding goes, you know what? We don't care anymore.
Yeah. So
really quick,
Yeah,
this,
go ahead,
this
Dan.
just ties right back into what we just talked about, and it's like, hey, blue no matter who people, this seems this. Hey, you say you're for all women, you say you're protecting women. This is a perfect story. This is a story of kids protecting kids. I don't hear anyone. I don't hear them talking about it. It's almost as if that it doesn't matter to them unless it helps them politically. And again, this is the situation that we're in, that politicians like talking about these issues, like talking about protecting people from various crimes, but only when it's popular, only when it affects them, only when it's subject to talk about it. So remember when we the news used to cover like every single mass shooting that ever happened every single day, and not a lot happened, but then they're like, oh, we're going to move on to something else. Schools are still getting shut up. No one cares about it now. And this is the same thing. These are people that are not getting proper care. They're not able to, makes it harder for them to report their case. And again, I'm just saying, I just want very simple thing. Consistency. Consistency is all I ask. It's the only bar that I feel is fair to ask of everyone. Say something a year ago, say the same thing now. And so it's despicable that kids no longer have this protection, and young adults no longer have this protection or the ability to have this escalator be reported, which is, ironically, a lot of the same issues we're having with police misconduct, that we know exactly how many bullets police fire in the year, we just don't know how many people they shoot. It's something that is so straightforward, I don't even think we should be discussing it, but sadly, we live in a country that we have to.
I'm concerned about how far we are regressing as a country in regards towards protecting those who have power or titles, and all the while we're ignoring victims of assault, abuse, and we must be better than this. We as citizens must call for more accountability. We must be consistent, and the very fact that this country is backpedaling, the rest of the world, no matter which country it is probably looking at the United States and probably wondering what's going on. How did this great nation that was, I don't know, in theory supposed to be this land of opportunity and respect of law, is now basically just willingly turning a blind eye to the abuse of power. And I only can imagine just really how victims of assault are right now dealing with this and factoring this all in. I mean, we're seeing everything that was started, like, there was hope for a real movement of change after 2016. And from what I've been seeing from a lot of these organizations and how they've been regressing or falling backwards to their ideas or whatever, it's just we must be better. Because if we don't take care of each other, because obviously the powers that be won't, if we don't take care of each other, then we are done for. And we have to step up and be the initiative for change. I think, John, do you have a final note?
Yeah, I do. The bottom line is this. It really is this. The federal government under the DeVos administration has decided that they care more about money, getting money from the federal government to the schools and their moneyed interests. And, that's 100% what Betsy DeVos is all about. It's all about the money. And the immediate gain of that is way more important than the safety of our children and our college students who are still people's children and the future of America. That's what it is. It's money right now. $4 million, from a fine, instead of just finding decent coaches that aren't creeps, that aren't monsters. Like, how hard is that? There's 327 million people in America. Someone could step up and take that man's job, and it'd be that easy.
Yeah, agreed. Well, again, we have to look out for each other, but now we do have to switch things up. Daniel, you have the final story for the people, and I do know that we will be having our guest joining us shortly. So before we do, though, we actually got a super chat, $2 from Rhiannon.
I'm enjoying you reading this one. Go ahead, read it.
I think it's kind of pointed towards John, though. In a way. Chuck, they're called labia.
Brass labia.
Brass labia. So there we go. All right.
By the way, why isn't it iron? Brass is not that strong.
Yeah, iron.
Like
yeah.
Titanium.
Yeah,
like why does no one have titanium?
Space
balls?
Titanium. There we go.
Well, that's just a different arrangement of the. I'm not going to get into science right now.
All right. No science.
I think tungsten is a little bit too on the nose.
There.
Oh.
All right.
There.
All right. So.
Okay.
Daniel, with the final story, real quick, because I know John's gonna have to be leaving, and we have to bring in our guest. So take it away, real quick.
Okay. So we have a story that we usually like to try and end the show on a positive note. This is a positive in a certain way, just maybe not for people's mental happiness. So, Pennsylvania State's Earth System Science Center said they anticipate that the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season will be an active one with the possibility of 20 named storms. They say that we could be looking at between 15 and 24 named tropical storms this year, with a best estimate of 20 storms. Quote, we predict that we predict one of the most active Atlantic hurricane seasons on record. I mean, it's exactly what we needed at the times that we're at. I mean, this is the month of the murder hornet, and so I guess next month is the start of the hurricane, one of the largest hurricane seasons. So wonderful. The 2019 season had 18 named storms, matching 1969 for the fourth most lively season in the past 150 years. Hurricane season begins June 1st and lasts until November 30th. So I want to just kind of go over the science of hurricanes real quick with everyone. I always like to bring this up because hurricanes are really fascinating from a physics point of view. Hurricanes are essentially the path of least resistance to move energy from one part of the planet to another. That's about it. I mean, hurricanes have the force of many nuclear bombs. In fact, I think large, people can look this up if I'm not right, but Category 4, Category 5 storms have more energy put into them than all of our nuclear arsenals by 2 or 3 times. So, these are pretty massive things. And basically what it is you have heat energy that's in the water. So you have warm water, which, of course, is sort of affected by global warming. It seems like something that would make sense. And you have the water, it gets picked up and it moves to areas that aren't. And so, of course, this is going to be your coastal cities that are on the Atlantic and in the Gulf of Mexico that are going to be the natural targets. I'm sure Puerto Rico is going to get hit again, and of course Trump is going to come back there and just throw paper towels at them as if that will do anything a second time. By the way, as far as I'm aware, no one in Puerto Rico has got those stimulus checks yet. No one, absolutely no one at all. They've just been completely ignored. But I wanted to just bring this up because just if it rains, it pours, I guess, guys. So we have in January again. We have World War III almost happening. We have in February, we have Australia burning. And then was it around there? Was it that month or next month? We had the Amazon burning. Then we have coronavirus. Then we have the lockdown. Now we have murder hornets. And now hurricanes. So, guys, I think we're on track to have something terrible happen every month this year, which is not the best thing ever. But hurricanes are coming, guys. Be warned.
2020 hindsight. Yay.
Can we just nuke the hurricanes?
Oh, yeah, that would be it. Yeah.
Like, what if we just dropped a nuke in the center and nuked the hurricanes?
Well, that's
Anybody
good.
thought of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, Trump has. I've heard.
Well, don't worry. Look, guys, I already have the solution. Myself, Gorak, Mazma Dundee,
Oh, no,
and Sotek have all worked together to at least try and end the forces of chaos from trying to enter into this world. We will work together. I managed to form an alliance with the citizens
thank
of
you
Lustria.
for this completely unrelated take on something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Please continue.
All right, so
Let me guess, 40K? Is that
no,
40K?
actually different this time.
No.
So there we go.
It's not.
Yeah, no, we know it's not. You only have one reference you do.
No, it's not. It's not 40K this time. It's just the other one.
Anyway, what you're saying, John.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Um,
Someone has to take control of this.
I don't know, man. Like, look, we've already experienced the four horsemen of apocalypse in in the first 5 months of this year. War, pestilence, all of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just shit news. It's like it's a nonstop barrage
agree.
of shit news, and I can't wait to be the first one to volunteer as tribute when our society devolves into the Hunger Games.
Well, actually, Ayana actually gave us the $2 super chat that's kind of relevant to this is whoever you are, put Jumanji down. Put it down.
All right.
Or try and win the game or yell out Jumanji. There you go. It's
Oh my God! Can you imagine someone? We just hear somewhere
Jumanji,
and then everything just is like, oh,
everything turns back like,
everything's
whoa.
better. We just have a depression to worry about.
Yeah,
now.
just have to worry about that depression. Yeah,
Wouldn't
so there
we just
go.
reset? Wouldn't we just reset though?
I think so. Maybe we would. Who knows?
You guys. I'm sure you can tell if you're watching this about how well things are going. That's like we're just like, oh yeah, just a record year of hurricanes. Nothing to worry about. Everything's perfectly fine. Florida is gonna be perfectly fine. I'm sure Georgia will be just fine. It's crazy because one thing that I am interested in with this season is that when we've been talking about this, that hurricanes get larger proportionate to the heat energy they're given. So like the largest hurricanes in history are what are called hypercanes. And I think the only time that I'm aware that those have really come out is like when the asteroid that hit the dinosaurs hit what was today basically the Gulf of Mexico. And it heated the water, I think they said, to about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which caused these hurricanes that were so large they actually sucked out the ozone from the upper atmosphere because they were like 25 miles high, and they had winds of like 500 miles an hour. Anyway, we're not there yet.
Nerd.
Okay, let's not get there yet. But before we do end this, we actually got a $2 super chat from Kate. Parts of Africa right now have locusts as well. So yes, the crisis continues to happen for 2020. But now we have to switch things up. So John, thank you so much for joining us here today at Hardlands Media. Daniel's going to be stepping out on the side to basically man the board as I bring forth our guests onto our show. So we're going to do the switch over
We're
live.
going to do it live, guys.
Live. Here we go. Take this thing, and I'll just take the stream deck right there. Put it on to the side. Right, there you go. All right. All right, so again, real quick to all our viewers and subscribers, it's going to be a very important one. All right, there we go. So to all our viewers and subscribers, this is going to be a very important interview. This is a story that we've been covering here at Hardlands Media for quite some time. It has to deal with the Matt Asphalt plant and clear negligence from the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, Cook County. For 2 years, the Matt Asphalt plant was built in the 12th Ward. Again, no one in that community was informed about it. No agency from the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, Cook County informed people of its construction. As it stands right now, it is still operating without a permit. And one of the concerns about an asphalt plant is that it releases particulate matter into the air. Particulate matter impacts the heart, lungs, and brain. Normally impacts young people and senior citizens. And again, the people in that community have been trying very hard to get that asphalt plant out of there. It's built right next to a 63-acre public park. There's homes, communities, businesses there. There's 2 schools, an open pool. And again, no one in any of the institutions here in the state of Illinois are doing anything to get rid of the Mad Asphalt plant. So with that being said, if our guest is ready, I am happy to introduce Lauren Gonzalez. She is one of the key organizers for the Southwest Environmental Alliance. She was the one who actually helped organize that protest that I helped cover last week in regards to shutting down the Matt Asphalt plant. So, Lauren, for our viewers and subscribers, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your organization, Southwest Environmental Alliance?
Yeah, of course. And thank you so much for having me on here, Kit. So yes, like Kit mentioned, my name is Lauren Gonzalez. I'm a member of the Southwest Environmental Alliance, and we are residents from McKinley Park, Pilsen, Little Village, Back of the Yards, and beyond. And the reason we got together is that research has shown that our neighborhoods, which happen to be Latino majority neighborhoods, have some of the greatest exposures to pollution in the city of Chicago. And so we're all committed to fighting this environmental racism, and just to call it what it is, through direct action to hold polluters and public officials to account.
Now, I think it's important for our viewers to understand, because we've been covering this on Hard Lens Media, especially in the early days of our radio and television careers. And, not a lot of traction was going on. We didn't have the audience that we have now. So I think it's important for our viewers to understand what exactly is the Mad Asphalt plant. I mean, what's its whole history? I mean, 2 years ago, it showed up out of the blue and it's still operating without a permit. What's going on? Okay. We're going to try and see if we can get her back on very soon. We do apologize for that inconvenience. But again, just so everyone is very well aware that the Matt Asphalt plant is, again, that it is an industrial facility that is basically, working without a permit. And again, there's a lot of heavy truck traffic going on there. So when we covered the protest for the shutdown of the Matt Asphalt plant, this was a 50-car convoy that basically shut it down for 1 whole hour. And the thing is, a lot of organizations and groups have been doing a lot of outreach to state of Illinois officials, Cook County officials, Chicago officials in regards to getting rid of this plant. So I think we're about to return her back on. So I'm going to repeat my former question. Lauren, thank you so much again. We glad to have you back on. I think it's important for our viewers to understand really what is Mad Asphalt plant, since you have been leading a lot of groups against it.
Sure, so I can give you some background. So during the springtime of 2018, the McKinley Park neighborhood was shocked to see huge silos go up without any sort of heads up to the community. And Matt Asphalt officially opened their doors in July of 2018. And this was really concerning because McKinley Park is considered an environmental justice neighborhood. And under the Illinois EPA's environmental justice policy, that should ensure public engagement protections. But still, we were completely left in the dark. And little did we know at the time that Alderman Cardenas of the 12th Ward, which is where McKinley Park is, had known about the plant a year prior and had given it his blessing. And part of the disbelief and the anger that the community was feeling was because Alderman Cardenas is the chair of the Health and Environmental Protection Committee. And so he's supposed to prioritize our health. But instead he was selling us out and was very quietly making sure that the owners of the plant had what they needed to open their operations. For example, he supported the rezoning of a residential land that was adjacent to the plant, and they needed that in order to get up and running. But then, things made more sense later after finding out that the father of the owner of Matt Asphalt had made campaign contributions to a Cardenas affiliated PAC. And so bringing that back to now, Matt Asphalt is operating on an expired license. They're currently looking to renew a 10-year operating permit. And that is just something that our community can absolutely not afford. The Illinois EPA set a community meeting hearing on the renewal in March, but it's been indefinitely postponed due to the pandemic.
Now, I think it's important for us to talk about Alderman Cardenas and his relationship with Matt Asphalt Plant. As you mentioned, that the father of Matt, one of the owners of Matt Asphalt Plant, has donated money to a PAC that supports Alderman Cardenas of the 12th Ward. What has been his interaction with the community? I mean, has he held any town halls or meetings with the people about the Matt Asphalt Plant? Because, again, back and forth, there's a large amount of truck traffic going in and out. The facility is basically, you could see it where it's just shooting out plumes of smoke out of its facility. Has he had any kind of community town hall about this?
So he has not, and he hasn't showed up at any of the meetings that have been led by the community. And that's part of the frustration. You know, you would think that he would be on the side of his constituents, but he continues to ignore us. And so we haven't heard from him.
All right. Now, in regards to the Matt Asphalt Plant, there's been a couple of town halls that we covered where they're saying, oh, no, everything's fine, it's safe, it's clean there. What are some of the reports showing just how polluted the community is in the 12th Ward? Like, what are the real clear dangers for the residents that live in the 12th Ward?
Yeah, so I think what we're especially concerned about is the plant releasing particulate matter into the air, like you had mentioned. They have 200 trucks passing through our neighborhoods carrying asphalt from the plants on a daily basis. And then not to mention, you know, the residents in our community, they're riddled with asthma, heart disease, and cancers, and we need to make sure that they are protected. You know, like also you mentioned, the plant is in proximity to 2 schools. It's next to a park where kids play, and it's no place for an asphalt plant to be. And so, you know, the park is the lungs of our community, and we need to keep it safe. You know, when I was growing up, this park was my sanctuary, but things are very different now, and families have to think twice about, you know, having their kids there.
Now, I actually want to talk to you about action to get things done, to get rid of the Matt Asphalt Plant. So before the 50-car convoy in which you guys heroically shut down that facility, what other methods did you do to really try and reach out to any leader in the state of Illinois to really help you guys out? I mean, has there been any kind of response from them in regards towards some sort of legislative action or at least some kind of mandate to shut it down? What have you guys did before, at least in regards to before the protest?
So before the protest, I mean, we've been in communications with many political leaders, and they've said that they would join us at the Illinois EPA's community meeting, whenever that may be. And so, yeah, we have a number of them. But we've also been in touch with the Deputy Director of Policy for the Mayor's Office. And the last we heard from her is in March, where she had mentioned that they're soon setting up an environmental equity working group with the goal to create a forum to drive environmental policy change. And then apparently that would include a review of the industrial permitting process. So again, that was in March. We haven't heard anything. And then we also received a letter from Mayor Lightfoot in April saying that, you know, she shares our concerns about the air quality, but didn't specify any concrete next steps.
Okay, so desperate times call for desperate measures. So let's talk about this great operation in which for 1 hour, and I took I was pretty happy to see this happen, but for 1 hour you guys shut down that Matt Asphalt Plant. And I think the look on the at least the front gatekeeper's face was very priceless. It was something that I'll never forget. What led to you guys working together and actually setting this thing up? What was the final straw that was like, okay, we need to get something done. We need to make our presence heard, and someone's going to have to hear from us. What happened?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, during this crisis, we've all been on the edge of our seat, obviously, for many reasons. But we saw the botched demolition of a former coal plant take place in Little Village, and that which resulted in residential areas being engulfed by a cloud of dust in the middle of a respiratory health crisis. And so that happened. And then we're still waiting for the EPA public hearing and thinking about potentially living with Matt Asphalt for another decade. And so with all of that looming over us, we wanted to show both Matt Asphalt and the city that we're not going away. And so knowing that Alderman Cardenas is not with us, for the action itself, we shifted our focus to Mayor Lightfoot. We do want her to use her influence to stop the plant from operating during this crisis until the community can have some voice in the process. And then the reason we're targeting her is because while she was campaigning for mayor, she did pledge to do something about the lack of city involvement and the environmental oversight in McKinley Park. But here we are, we're well into her campaign, and we're still stuck with this politically connected polluter that bought their way into the neighborhood. And so right now we're looking at the millions of dollars in contracts that the city has with Matt Asphalt. And so with that, the city does have a responsibility to protect our most vulnerable in this community. And then one last thing, in the context, of COVID-19, now more than ever, we need our lungs to be able to be healthy in order to fight this virus. But, Matt Asphalt still has their doors open. They're still polluting our air. And part of the city's COVID response should be shutting down polluters for the sake of our health, especially when, statistics are showing that Illinois Latinos are now the leading group for COVID cases. And we're also still hearing complaints about asphalt fumes. We recently heard that as a response to the complaints, the plant would be adding a cherry smelling additive to mask the scent. And so it really is unconscionable to think about the hoops that industry will go to harm people without penalty. And then the action itself, like you mentioned, we had a spirited bunch. We had about 50 cars show up. We kept trucks from leaving the plant's parking lot, and we showed the plant that we're not going away.
Yes, and again, it was absolutely incredible. I've been covering the Matt Asphalt plant for almost about 2 years. We have a lot of coverage and videos and audio coverage of this Matt Asphalt plant and what it's done. So I think in regards to the aftermath of the protest, because I saw police writing citations to you guys, I saw that there was a huge police response to all of you, but thankfully it ended peacefully. But what was the aftermath, and did anyone from the state of Illinois, Cook County, City of Chicago respond to you? Did the alderman respond to you? Did Matt Asphalt plant respond to you guys?
At this time, we have not gotten a response from anyone, but that's not to say that we won't keep pushing.
I think it's also important to note, again, adding a cherry flavor to an asphalt facility. I mean, wow. Talk about being desperate, because that's not going to solve anything. It's still releasing particulate matter. It's still going to be dangerous. I don't know what world they're living in. So let's talk about Governor Jb Pritzker, because there's an interesting campaign photo that he did some time ago when he was running to get the nomination to become the Democratic nominee for the governor's race in 2018. He actually took a photo at the community garden that's by the Matt Asphalt plant. Has there been any response from Governor Jb Pritzker or anyone within his administration? Because I know that some time ago he was very harsh towards the Illinois EPA and actually fired a few individuals who were incompetent at their jobs. Has he responded, or anyone from his administration responded to you guys?
So neither he or his administration has been in communications with any of our group, but I can't speak to whether or not he's been in contact with any of the other groups.
Right.
For example, Neighbors for Environmental Justice.
Okay, see, now again, that's quite depressing to hear. So let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about pushing forward. What are you guys' next step? Are you going to be holding any kind of meetings or town halls for yourselves? What is your next path forward to really address the Matt Asphalt plant, the danger it proposes to the 12th Ward, and eventually to get it shut down? What are you guys prepared to do?
Yeah, so we have some things in the works. We're definitely going to keep the pressure on Matt Asphalt, and we'll keep folks posted as they're planned. And yeah, I will just say that if you're interested in getting involved, we would love to have you join us. And we meet on a monthly basis.
Well, that's a good thing that you brought up, because I think we have a national audience. A lot of our viewers and subscribers are activists, community organizers. They're people who want to step up and get involved. So where can they go online to find you guys on social media so they can help out and eventually, let's hope, very soon to end the Matt Asphalt plant and get it shut down permanently? So where can they go online to find you guys?
Yeah, so the best place would be on Facebook. You can find us under the Southwest Environmental Alliance. Feel free to shoot us a message and we'll get you involved.
All right, that's a fantastic note to end it on. And otherwise than that, Lauren Gonzalez, please be safe out there, and please keep on pushing forward and fighting the good fight. Obviously, the Mad Asphalt plant is a real threat to everyone. She is one of the main organizers for Southwest Environmental Alliance. We always talk about fighting for a better future, and Lauren Gonzalez and her colleagues are doing that. Check out my full coverage of their protests and shutdown of the Mad Asphalt plant. It was a heroic action that they did, and in these times, we need people to step up, and Lauren Gonzalez and her team and her organizers at Southwest Environmental Alliance are just doing that. Let us all help them out. And I want to thank her again for joining us. Thank you so much, Lauren. And I want to also thank my co-hosts and everyone else who's been joining us here today at Hard Lens Media. My name's Kit Cabello. Peace to you guys, and let us all do what we can to build a better future.